Passing through the gate and following the small road toward the ships in the distance, you quickly encounter a tiny wooden shack with one open door and two small windows facing you, the ticket master within patiently waiting for you. Any idea how much a vessel to Chegoria costs? Ariana asks. Let's find out, Eswin replies, leading the way. Well met, heroes. The middle-aged elf from behind the counter states, a character who appears to have done a lot of traveling in her day as well. I am the ticket master, Darshi. Where are all of you heading? About to answer, Darshi grins, looking each of you over as if you were royalty. Wait, you're the party who helped save the EAA from all those swamp monsters, aren't you? I was told to expect you. We've already commissioned our best ship to take you directly to Chegoria. You're free to board whenever you wish, choose an option, board the ship immediately, return to EAA one last time. I don't think we're quite ready to leave, you respond, instructing your heroes to turn and backtrack south again. That's fine, Darshi responds with a smile. Go complete your business within the city, I will remain here until you return. So yes, go do whatever you wish within EAA. When you're ready, return to the shipyard here and Darshi will help you board your vessel to Chegoria. Travel alert, using the road, you travel southeast, taking 10 minutes to arrive. GM note, Janet lost 1 gold piece, change made is 4 electrum pieces and 10 copper pieces, you paid. Janet withdraws 503 platinum pieces from the bank. That leaves her with 4,527 platinum pieces banked. Note that the transaction itself cost 1 gold piece. Travel alert, using the road, you travel north, taking 10 minutes to arrive. The Janet lost 225 platinum pieces. In return, she receives 45 potions of light healing. Travel alert, using the road, you travel west, taking 10 minutes to arrive, returning to the shipyard, your business within EAA now complete, you step back to the small shack you encountered the ticket master Darshi earlier. True to her word, she is still here, ready to escort you to the grand vessel awaiting to take you to the shores of Chegoria. You're back. Follow me. Continuing to treat all of you as the heroes you are, Darshi leads your party to the docks where several smaller craft gently bob in the water. The vessels here are smaller boats, designed for only a few passengers and not intended for the open sea. There is, however, a substantial sailing ship anchored off the shoreline here about 100 yards away, a breathtaking vessel that is grand and majestic. Complete with 3 large masts, dozens of full, white sails, 10 cannons on each side and plenty of cargo space, the ship appears capable of transporting dozens of people at a time, and given how the hull and masts have all been painted white as well, you suspect it belongs to none other than Queen Delpana herself. Is that the Queen's ship? Ariana asks, quite impressed by the sight in front of you. That it is, Darshi replies with a smile. Behold, the white rose. How original. Eswin whispers, his sarcasm, mostly kept in check. Climb into the large rowboat here and then you can board her, Darshi instructs, pointing to a modest-sized vessel here near the end of the pier, large enough to accommodate your entire party. Climbing into the sturdy rowboat, your heroes find a seat, each of you grabbing an oar. Darcy steps back to the rudder, addressing your party moments later. Have all of you used a rowboat before? Indeed. Let's do a party intelligence check to see how well your party is able to row the boat toward the white rose in the distance. Needing a 14 or less from your heroes, a 2 was rolled. Success. While a little awkward at first, your heroes quickly determine how best to row the boat, and soon you're well on your way toward the Queen's ship in the distance. Reaching the large sailing ship, you row your way to a rope ladder that extends over the starboard, right side of the vessel. You will need to climb about 20 feet up to reach the deck. Darcy fastens the rowboat to the ship, then helps escort all of you up the ladder, herself the last to reach the deck above. Your first experience aboard such a grand sailing vessel, let's do a spirit check on your hero and see what happens. Needing a 12 or less from Janet, a 11 was rolled. Success. The sight before you is absolutely mesmerizing. Not only is the intricate combination of wood, rope, and sail here impressive, but the way the dozen or so female sailors are going about their duties and integrating themselves within the ship makes it feel almost like a single, complex organism, one that needs a great deal of tender loving care. This will be your first sea voyage, and it promises to be exciting. Your heroes now fully aboard, you watch as Darcy looks about, apparently trying to find someone. Moments pass, then the woman asks your party to follow, all of you headed for a door near the back of the impressive ship. You enter a surprisingly large room at the end of the ship, the captain's quarters. Containing a variety of amenities befitting someone of high rank and importance, you look around for a few moments as Darcy approaches someone sitting in a chair behind a desk, her back to you. Captain Alicia? Those heroes looking to raid Chegoria are here. A few moments pass in silence, as if the woman sitting there didn't hear Darcy. The woman then leaps to her feet and turns around, stepping away from her chair and desk to formally greet you. You did well, driving away all those nasty swamp creatures, the captain begins, eyeing each of you. Queen Delpana speaks very highly of you, even you, men. I am Captain Alicia, welcome aboard the White Rose. Colorfully dressed, well armed and surprisingly, well, older than you expected, let's do a wisdom check on your hero to properly gauge your first impressions here. Needing a 14 or less from Janet, a 20 was rolled. Failure. Your first impression is that the captain seems a little old for this kind of work, and you wonder if she's the best chance you have of getting to Chegoria safely. Still, you presume she knows what she's doing, and you remain hopeful for the journey ahead. The captain returns to her chair, pushes it back against her desk, straightens a few things up on her desk and then turns back to you, a seriousness on her face that is somewhat surprising. Now, let's get down to business, Captain Alicia states matter-of-factly, approaching you as the party leader. The waters encircling Chegoria are dangerous, the captain continues, concerned. We do occasionally trade with the ultimates, but they're very secretive, even xenophobic, and they'll just as soon kill you than trade with you if you're not careful. Your best bet is to avoid their port towns altogether and sneak into the country. What's your plan? A good question. How do you want to try and enter Chegoria once you're there? Choose an option, avoid the bigger cities and swim to shore, find a port town and act as merchants, sail to Jep and act as EAA emissaries. The closest port town would be Oolats, in the bay due west of Jep, Captain Alicia responds, considering your response. We can get you close to the docks, the village will likely send a small rowboat to fetch all of you. We appreciate everything you're doing for us, Captain, Cartha replies, genuinely thankful. This port town of Oolats should be fine. Captain Alicia nods, the matter apparently settled. All of you are welcome to stay here in my chamber during the journey, Captain Alicia then instructs, turning for the only door out. It will take about a day to get there. Is there anything more I can do for you? Darcy asks of Alicia, ready to depart as well. I should get back. You're free to leave, the captain returns, holding the door open. And let the queen know that these heroes are in good hands. Darcy smiles and nods, then escorts Captain Alicia out of the room, leaving your party behind. I don't know, you comment, a bit worried for your party. The captain seems a bit old, for this line of work. We should recognize our good fortune. Redfern replies with a smile. Not only are we headed to Chegoria, but we're doing so in security and style. I think we can trust this Captain Alicia. Your heroes agree, each of them looking about for a place to sit down and rest. Again, your journey to Chegoria will take at least a day, and given that none of you are used to the open sea, it's best if you stay within the captain's quarters and relax. Nearly a day passes, your heroes healing themselves, repairing their weapons and armor and generally enjoying the downtime in their own way. Of course, this is your first time in the open ocean, so let's do death ray or poison saving throws on your heroes to see if anyone was rendered seasick over the past 8 hours as well. Some of your party may now be suffering from seasickness, dealing with any potential seasickness the best you can. You eventually sense that you must be getting close to Chegoria. A little antsy here in the captain's quarters as well, it's time to leave and see how close you really are. Asking your heroes to gather their belongings and follow, you then lead them out of the comfortable chamber and out onto the deck of the grand ship beyond. You're surprised to find the ship's deck bathed in near darkness, the full moon above the only source of light. Marching forward as best you can, you eventually find Captain Alicia at the ship's wheel, the older woman extremely wary in the darkness. "Good, you're here," the captain whispers, looking about. "I was just going to send for you, we're only a few hours away from Oolats to the southeast. Why is everything so dark?" Sainadius asks with respect, his voice just a whisper as well. Needing a 15 or less from Janet, a 1 was rolled. "Success, I am guessing we can't attract attention," you respond, answering Sainadius' question. Captain Alicia nods slightly in agreement. "These are dangerous, monster-infested waters. The ultimates are always scrying about their shorelines as well. We dare not attract any attention." The female naval officer considers the situation a little more, then looks to you and whispers again. "Well, sail a little closer in, but that's all the farther I can take you. You'll have to swim the rest of the way, choose an option, are you kidding? We will drown for sure? That seems challenging, but we should be okay, whatever you think is best, Captain." Janet permanently increases her spirit score by 1 point, the captain looks to you for a moment and nods, even showing a hint of a smile in appreciation. Alicia then reaches into a deep pocket of her overcoat, retrieving a small scroll tube and handing it to you. "Here's a scroll of water breathing, just in case. Once we lower you into the water, use the scroll and you will be able to breathe normally even underwater." "Well played." Redfern whispers as you accept the magical item and stow it away, your entire party grateful for the gift. "So, what do all of you know of Chegoria?" Captain Alicia queries, taking interest in your quest. "You're heading into certain danger, are you sure about this?" "Actually, it was Queen Delpana's idea," Redfern answers, keeping his voice down. "Our goal is to find and destroy the One Nemesis Plant, that should bring the ultimates to their knees." "That is quite ambitious." The captain returns, a little stunned. "Most who journey to Chegoria never return, I sure hope you know what you're doing. Your party, as well as Captain Alicia, need reassurance. How do you respond? Choose an option. Diplomacy, we will be as careful as possible. Honor, it's time the ultimates were dealt with. Optimism, we've handled worse. It's time the ultimates were dealt with, Redfern interjects, taking the words from your mouth. We're aware of the danger, but this will help clear our names as well as deal a blow to the wicked ultimates. You're headed into a giant wasp's nest, Alicia finally comments, not sure of what to think. I just hope you don't stir up trouble for the rest of us. The next hour or so passes by in silence, each of you keeping your thoughts to yourselves as the White Rose continues its trek toward the western shore of Chegoria, the small port village of Oolats now not too far away. This is about as far as I dare go, Captain Alicia finally whispers to you, your time aboard the White Rose nearing its end. Follow me. Leaving the ship's wheel to her second in command, Alicia leads your party to the starboard side of the ship where you first boarded the vessel and lowers the rope ladder so you can climb down. She then points to a stack of small wooden barrels nearby. Each of you, grab a barrel. There are cloaks inside you can use to disguise yourselves once you reach shore. The barrels will also help keep you afloat as you swim your way to shore. Following the captain's advice, each of you grab one of the small barrels, about to use them as a sort of life preserver. Alicia then steps alongside the rope ladder leading down to the calm water below, about to help you depart. Suddenly, a loud, deep, piercing shriek rips the air, an extremely disturbing sound that must be very close. All of you look about with great concern, the noise sounded monstrous and you fear the worst. What was that? Ariana gasps. The monstrous shriek cuts through the air again, this time even louder. Captain Alicia draws her sword, as do several of her crew. Without warning, a massive tentacle then flies in from the darkness, hundreds of feet long and wrapping itself around the central mast of the ship. Additional tentacles fly in, flailing about like giant whips and posing a terrible danger to all aboard. A kraken! Alicia shouts, horrified. We're under attack. One of the largest creatures known to terrorize the seas of Sicilus. Let's do a curiosity check on your hero to see what you might know about them. Needing a 13 or less from Janet, a 12 was rolled. Success. While never having faced such a monstrosity before, you've heard that they are massive, larger than the biggest whale in the ocean, and that their tentacles can crush entire ships. They also possess a beak-like mouth that can snap a person in two. Your initial thought is that the White Rose, and all aboard, are likely doomed. All of you, in the water, now. Captain Alicia barks, ordering you to abandon the ship at once. Assessing the suddenly desperate situation, you continue to watch as several more tentacles rush in out of the darkness, latching onto the other two masts and starting to crush them. Alicia orders you to climb over the railings of the ship again and flee the encounter, then turns to attack the tentacles and, in all likelihood, be crushed by them very soon. This situation is incredibly perilous. What do you do? Choose an option: jump overboard, but attack the kraken, jump overboard, and swim away to safety, stay aboard and fight the kraken? Believing that the White Rose will be destroyed without your help, you bravely order your party to remain aboard ship and ready your weapons and spells, as this will be one of the toughest battles you've ever fought. Electing to attack the kraken, an incredibly brave, but likely foolhardy decision. You're taking on a beast that is nearly 75 feet long, has 10 tentacles that does 3d6 points of damage per hit and a maw that does 2d6 damage per bite. So, this will be an incredibly difficult fight. Fortunately, you do have two advantages. First, you've encountered a juvenile kraken, which is significantly smaller than the real thing and hence something you may just be able to defeat. Second, you have Captain Alicia and her dozen shipmates, level 4 fighters as allies, so you won't be battling the juvenile kraken alone. You'll fight as two separate groups, controlling your own party as Captain Alicia and her crew do their best on their own. At the moment, nearly a dozen kraken tentacles flail about, each several feet in diameter and covered in countless rows of powerful suckers. Before you can even lure the head of the kraken out to try and defeat the monster, you will first need to deal with its tentacles. Your party is under attack. Threatening all of you are 5 juvenile kraken tentacles. It's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at juvenile kraken tentacle number 1, needing a 16 to hit. Die roll is a 16, +7 to hit. Ariana hits juvenile kraken tentacle number 1, doing 11 points of damage and leaving it with 20 hit points. It's Janet's turn. What do you want her to do? Janet uses a skeletal seed on juvenile kraken tentacle number 1, causing the monstrous hero to attack it for 3 points of damage for 10 minutes. It's Barthal's turn. What do you want him to do? Needing a 45 or less on percentile dice, a 66 is rolled. Failure. Barthol tries to blend into the shadows but is Sainators cast Spiritual Hammer on Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 1, bashing it for Eswin uses a Boots of Speed on himself, allowing himself to act twice each round for 5 minutes. It's Muriel's turn. Marioleth casts Web on roughly half of all encountered combatants, attempting to immobilize them in sticky goo. Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 1 avoids the attack altogether. Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 2 eludes. Redfern uses a Wand of Phantasmal Force on Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 1, horrifying it for 5 points of damage for 5 minutes, needing a 14 or greater. Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 1 rolls a 4 and fails versus spells. It's Kartha's turn. What do you want her to do? Kartha readies her mace +1 and swings at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 1, needing a 20 to hit, -4 due to seasickness. Die roll is a 4, +5 to hit. Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 3 attacks Oriana with its. Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 2 attacks Eswin with its tentacle, needing a 17 to hit. Die roll is a 11, +8 to hit. Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 2 hits Eswin, crushing him for 10 points of damage and leaving Eswin with 29 hit points. Also, the monster has attached itself to Eswin and will automatically hit now with each subsequent round until defeated. Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 4 attacks Eswin with its tentacle, needing a 17 to hit. Die roll is a 12, +8. Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 5 attacks Janet with its tentacle. GM note: a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled. With higher value, Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 2, needing a 24 to hit, -4 due to seasickness, -4 due to being grabbed and restricted. Die roll is a 4, +8 to hit. Eswin misses Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 2. It's Oriana's turn. Oriana uses a Boots of Speed on herself, allowing herself to act twice each round for 5 minutes. It's Barthol uses an Orb of Alchemist Fire on roughly half of all encountered combatants, blasting them in chemical fire. Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 1 avoids the attack altogether. Juvenile Kraken Kartha readies her mace +1 and swings at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 1, needing a 20 to hit, -4 due to seasickness. Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 3 attacks Oriana with its tentacle, needing a 22 to hit. It's Muriel's turn. What do you want her to do? Marioleth casts Phantasmal Force on Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 1, horrifying it for 6 points of damage for 5 minutes, needing a 14 or greater. Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 1 rolls a 4. Janet uses a Potion of Charm any combatant on Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 4, charming it and causing it to temporarily see your heroes as allies, no longer fighting on behalf of your enemies for 5 minutes, needing a 14 or greater. Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 4 rolls a 6 and fails versus spells. It's Eswin's turn. What do you want him to do? Eswin uses a Broom of Flying on himself, allowing himself to fly for an hour. It's Redfern's turn. What do you want him to do? Redfern casts Phantasmal Force on Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 3, potentially horrifying it, but nothing happens, item already in use. It's Seniors' turn. What do you want him to do? Seniors readies his mace +1 and swings at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 3, needing a 16 to hit. Seniors directs his Spiritual Hammer at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 3, bashing it for 3 points of damage. Redfern directs his Phantasmal Force at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 3, horrifying it. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled, with higher values acting first. Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 3, needing a 16 to hit. Die roll is a 3, +7 to hit. Ariana. Eswin actively defends himself, foregoing his turn but increasing his armor class by +1. It's Janet's turn. What do you want her to do? Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 5, needing a 16 to hit. Die roll is a 14, +6 to hit. Janet hits Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 5, needing a 45 or less on percentile dice. A 69 is rolled. Failure. Arthal tries to blend into the shadows but is unsuccessful. Redfern readies his quarterstaff +1 and swings at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 3, needing a 16 to hit. Die roll. Redfern directs his Phantasmal Force at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 3, horrifying it for 1 point of damage and leaving it with 3 hit points. It's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 3, needing a 16 to hit. Die. Eswin actively defends himself, foregoing his turn but increasing his armor class by +1. It's Murieleth's turn. What do you want her to do? Murieleth readies her longsword +1 and swings at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 5, needing a 20 to hit, -4. Murieleth directs her Phantasmal Force at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 5, horrifying it for 5 points. Seniors readies his mace +1 and swings at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle. Cartha readies her mace +1 and swings at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 5. Janet directs her Summoned Undead at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 5. Seniors directs his Spiritual Hammer at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 5, bashing it for 1 point of damage. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 2, needing a 20 to hit, -4 due to being grabbed and restricted. Die roll is a 10, +7 to hit. Eswin readies his shortbow and fires at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 5, needing a 20 to hit, -4 due to seasickness. Die roll is a 12, +4 to hit. Eswin misses Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 5. It's Murieleth's turn, needing a 35 or less on percentile dice. 81. Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 5, needing a 20 to hit, -4 due to. Cartha readies her mace +1 and swings at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 5, needing a 20 to hit. It's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 2, needing a 45 or less on percentile dice. A 3 is rolled. Success. Arthal blends in. Eswin readies his shortbow and fires at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 4, needing a 24 to hit, -4 due to seasickness, -4 due to being grabbed and restricted. Die roll is a 20, which is an automatic hit. Eswin hits Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 4, doing 4 points of damage and leaving it with 38 hit points. It's Redfern's turn. What do you want him to do? Redfern readies his quarterstaff +1 and swings at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 2, needing a 16 to hit. Janet directs her Summoned Undead at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 2, causing the monstrous hero to attack. Murieleth directs her Phantasmal Force at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 2, horrifying it for 4 points of damage and leaving it. Seniors readies his mace +1 and swings at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle. Seniors directs his Spiritual Hammer at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 2. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled. Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Juvenile Kraken Tentacle number 2, needing a 20 to hit, -4. Eswin readies his short bow and fires at juvenile Kraken tentacle number 2, needing it. Redfern readies his quarterstaff +1 and swings at juvenile Kraken tentacle. Janet directs her summoned undead at juvenile Kraken tentacle number 2, causing the monstrous hero to attack it for 3 points of damage and defeating it. Well done. All combatants have been defeated, ending the battle. Each hero receives 289 experience points. The juvenile Kraken screams in tremendous pain, some of its tentacles hacked off and the mighty beast now wounded. The monstrous head of the Kraken finally reveals itself, the beast intensely angry as it continues its savage attack. The ship nearly crushed and breaking into pieces, Captain Alicia and her remaining crew members focus on saving the ship as your party continues the battle against the Kraken. Your party is under attack. Menacing your entire party are 1 juvenile Kraken and 2 juvenile Kraken tentacles. It's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana uses a boots of speed on herself, allowing herself to act twice each round for 5 minutes. It's Barthol's turn. What do you want him to do? Barthol uses an orb of alchemist fire on roughly half of all encountered combatants, blasting them in chemical fire. Juvenile Kraken is burned for 19 points of damage, needing a 10 or greater. Juvenile Kraken rolls a 8 and fails versus Dragon Breath. Juvenile Kraken. Marioleth casts Magic Missile on Juvenile Kraken tentacle number 2, striking it with a Magic Missile for 5 points of damage. It's Ariana's turn. Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Juvenile Kraken tentacle number 2, needing a 16 to hit. Die roll. It's Janet's turn. What do you want her to do? Janet uses a skeletal seed on Juvenile Kraken tentacle number 2, causing the monstrous hero. Sainadius casts Bless on the entire party, potentially blessing them. Janet is. Juvenile Kraken tentacle number 2 attacks Ariana with its tentacle, needing a 23 to hit. Die roll is a 17, +8 to hit. It's Redfern's turn. What do you want? Redfern casts Fireball on roughly half of all encountered combatants, blasting them in an explosion of flame. Juvenile Kraken is burned for 16 points of damage, needing a 11 or greater. Juvenile Kraken rolls a 14 and saves for half damage versus spells. Juvenile Kraken. Eswin readies his short bow and fires at Juvenile Kraken tentacle number 2, needing a 19 to hit, -4 due to seasickness. Die roll is a 18, +4 to hit. Eswin hits Juvenile Kraken tentacle number 2. GM note: a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled, with higher values acting first. Kartha casts Spiritual Hammer on Juvenile Kraken tentacle. Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Juvenile Kraken tentacle number 1, needing a 15 to hit, needing a 45 or less on percentile dice, a 9. Kartha casts Cure Light Wounds on Eswin, healing him for 10. Sainadius casts Cause Moderate Wounds on Juvenile Kraken tentacle number 1, wounding it for 15 points of damage, needing a 14 or greater. Juvenile Kraken tentacle number 1 rolls a 6 and fails versus spells. It's Eswin's turn. What do you want him to do? Eswin readies his short bow and fires at Juvenile Kraken tentacle number 1, needing a 19 to hit, -4 due to seasickness. Die roll is a 13, plus 4 to hit. Ariana readies her longsword plus 2 and swings at juvenile Kraken tentacle number 1, needing a 15 to hit. Die roll is a 20 which Marioleth readies her longsword plus 1 and swings at juvenile Kraken tentacle. Janet directs her summoned undead at juvenile Kraken tentacle number 1. Janet casts cause light wounds on juvenile Kraken, wounding it for 10 points of damage, needing a 11 or greater. Juvenile Kraken. Redfern casts magic missile on juvenile Kraken, striking it with a magic missile for 6 points of damage. It's Kartha's spiritual hammer's turn. Kartha directs her spiritual hammer at juvenile Kraken, bashing it for 3 points of damage and leaving it with 22 hit points. GM note: a new combat round has begun. Marioleth casts magic missile on juvenile Kraken, striking it with a magic missile for 7 points of damage. Barthol binds the wounds of Ariana, returning her hit points to 0. Sainairs casts cure light wounds on Ariana, healing her for 8 hit points. Juvenile Kraken. It's Kartha's spiritual hammer's turn. Kartha directs her spiritual hammer at juvenile Kraken, bashing it for 3 points of. Janet directs her summoned undead at juvenile Kraken. Janet readies her mace plus 2 and swings at juvenile Kraken. Kartha readies her mace plus 1 and swings at juvenile Kraken, needing a. Redfern casts magic missile on juvenile Kraken, striking it with a magic missile for 7 points of damage. Juvenile Kraken has been defeated. Well done. All combatants have been defeated, ending the battle. Each hero receives 694 experience points. The juvenile Kraken screams again, most of its tentacles hacked off now and the mighty beast severely wounded. It then lets go of the ship and fades into the darkness. The White Rose has been saved. Moments later, your party rejoins Captain Alicia near the heavily damaged central mast, torn ropes and shredded sails lying all about. You've chased the Kraken away, but the White Rose is barely seaworthy now and will need to limp back to EAA. All of you are every bit the heroes Queen Delpana said you were, Alicia finally mutters, herself seriously wounded. I am not sure if the White Rose will ever be the same again, but you are the only reason we're not lying at the bottom of the sea right now. You have my sincerest gratitude. The party's reputation score permanently increases by 3 points. Several of the surviving sailors salute your party as well, very much in agreement. Now, you must leave. The captain insists, herding you to the starboard bow again so you can climb down to the water. I don't want to see you drown after risking your lives to save us. Agreeing, you step around the debris lying about the deck of the wounded ship, grab those barrels and climb the rope ladder down, sliding into the cold water. Good luck. Captain Alicia then calls out from above. Give the ultimates hell. A minute later, the ship disappears into the near darkness and is gone. Now where? Redfern asks, looking about in the rich moonlight. Which direction? Follow me. Ariana returns, her elven eyes able to spot the faint flickers of light from the port town to the southeast. We need to reach the shore before daylight, Kartha adds, a sense of urgency in her voice. Let's hurry. And with that, your party begins the slow swim toward shore, still several miles away. Naturally, the swim itself is grueling, even with the wooden barrels and the scroll of water breathing that Captain Alicia gave you. Your muscles soon tire and it becomes a struggle to stay afloat, especially for those of you wearing armor. So, let's roll a party constitution check to see how well your party does as it swims toward shore. Needing a 14 or less from your heroes, a 10 was rolled. Success, the swim to shore is arduous but not life-threatening, so nobody within the party takes any drowning damage. As the eastern sky begins to brighten with the approaching sun, you finally come within reach of the port town of Oolats, the docks and adjacent shoreline the best place for you to swim to. All of you can't wait to be out of the salt water, and your thoughts pass from the attack of the kraken and the challenging swim to finding warm and dry accommodations, without being seen. Utterly exhausted from your swim inland, your party finally reaches a small collection of rotting wooden docks here along the shoreline, the tiny village of Oolats directly to the south. Remaining in the water, you quickly survey the village. Only a few dozen buildings stand here, a stone wall encircling the hamlet as if the people here genuinely fear an attack. At the moment you don't see anyone, so it looks like you can sneak onto the docks if you wish and proceed south. Nodding to one another, you slowly drag yourselves up onto the wooden piers, so very glad to finally be out of the water. Keeping as quiet as you can, you wring yourselves out and catch your breath, then remove the disguises from within the small wooden barrels and don the clothing, hoping to blend in with the Chegorian townsfolk here. We made it, Redfern whispers in between breaths. Now what? That's actually a good question. Let's do a reason check on your party and see what happens. Needing a 12 or less from your heroes, a 18 was rolled. Failure, we need a place to camp, Eswin instructs, all of you needing as much sleep as you can get right now. However, you're not sure where to go. Looks like you will just have to explore the village, blend in as best you can and hope for the best. Well, despite the encounter with the juvenile kraken, and your heroic defense of the White Rose, you've made it to Chegoria, safe and sound. That concludes the brief quest to find your way into Chegoria. Let's go ahead and reward your troubles with some bonus experience points. GM note, your quest log has been updated. Click the quests button for all the details. Given that you chose to defend the White Rose, I am awarding your party the maximum number of experience points. Each hero earns 1000 experience points. Ariana has gained a new energy level and receives 8 new hit points. Now that you've arrived within Chegoria, it's time to begin your next quest, find the location of the One Nemesis Plant. From what Queen Delpan told you, its location is likely somewhere here within Chegoria. It may be an island nation, but that's still a lot of ground to cover. Hence, you will need to ask around, starting in this tiny hamlet. GM note, your quest log has been updated. Click the quests button for all the details. The sun now rising over the eastern horizon, you should flee the docks here at once and find a safer place to hide, rest and recover. A single village path leads away to the south where a small shop, possibly a jeweler, awaits your arrival. You can also try the path southwest to the public campground if you wish. A quick search finds that the canoes have one map of Oolats. Janet nods and takes the map of Oolats. Travel alert, using the road, you travel south, taking 10 minutes to arrive. This small, brick shop is old and crumbling, yet contains just about every type of stone, crystal, and rock imaginable. So, if you're looking to buy or sell a few gems, you've come to the right place. That said, the jeweler here seems quite suspicious of you, and your instinct is to beware, something may not be right. In fact, let's do a party empathy check here and see what happens. Needing a 12 or less from your heroes, a 14 was rolled. Failure, well, you certainly aren't sensing anything good from the jeweler, but you don't seem to have any reason to fear him either. Haven't seen the likes of you before, the older human grumbles, initiating a half-hearted conversation. When did you arrive? Naturally, You can't tell the jeweler the truth, he'd likely turn you over to the authorities in a heartbeat. What sort of response do you want to try with him? Choose an option. Our business is our own, we arrived early this morning, we've been here a few days. The main gate has been closed since last night, the jeweler scoffs, convinced of your lie. So you're here illegally, I get it, and I just don't care. You there, cleric? The jeweler suddenly shouts, speaking directly to Saint-Adiers. You're wearing red. Yes, that's right. Saint-Adiers responds sheepishly, not sure what to think. Red is the color of bloodshed, the jeweler continues, quickly growing hostile. Are you here to spill my blood? Of course not. The Sislan replies, a bit shocked. Why would you even think? Out of my shop, now, you wretched murderer. Yikes. This was unexpected. How do you react? Choose an option. Diplomacy, let's be civil about this. Reason, no color makes one a murderer. Tolerance, Saint-Adiers, go wait outside. No color makes one a murderer, Eswin criticizes. Where in Sicilus did you learn something like that? Sir, I am a Sislan, sworn to the sanctity of life, Saint-Adiers replies, clearly offended. Red is my favorite color, it does not make me a murderer. I believe it does. The jeweler cries out, his anger inexplicable. It's my right to believe whatever I want, if I say red makes you a killer, then it's so. The jeweler seems to be stating that so long as he believes in something, regardless of how silly it may seem, that makes it real. Let's do a party reason check to see what your heroes think of this. Needing a 12 or less from your heroes, a 17 was rolled. Failure, Janet, this is Chegoria, where nearly everyone consumes the nemfruit to transform their thoughts into reality, Cartha whispers in your ear. We're going to encounter situations like this often, I am afraid. We need to keep a low profile, Ariana whispers into your other ear, reminding you of the greater good. Humor this man if you want to do business with him. Ariana is right, of course, there is little to be gained by arguing with someone so totally detached from reality. So, either you will need to ask everyone wearing red to wait outside or you will need to leave now and skip doing business with the jeweler. Choose an option, leave, and not do business at all. Stay, but those wearing red must leave. Deciding that you really don't need to do business with the jeweler anyway, you order your party to depart, leaving the strange man, and his even stranger ideas behind. Now standing before the jeweler's dilapidated building, you can follow a well-used path here southwest to what appears to be a public campsite. You can go east toward a decidedly nicer looking area of the village, you can head southeast toward the village center or, if you really want to, you can return back to the docks. Travel alert, using the path, you travel southwest, taking 15 minutes to arrive. Tucked between the boundary wall and the village proper is a wide swath of forested land, a sort of makeshift park that is full of worn, light gray tents. There are easily several dozen tents here, haphazardly spread about without any real planning or structure to them, each capable of holding just one or two humanoid occupants. There does not seem to be anyone about, Ariana observes, looking for a good place for your party to settle down. We should make camp before anyone spies us here. Agreed, Eswin adds. But let's try to keep away from the villagers here as best we can. Working quickly, you find a more secluded spot within the public campsite and pitch your tents, being careful not to attract any undue attention. Your heroes then spend the next hour or so cleaning themselves up, having a bite to eat and generally relaxing. I wonder where everyone is. Saint-Adiers comments, looking about. We haven't seen a single soul since we arrived. I will look about and report back, Ariana offers, stepping away to do a quick search of the general area. Ariana sneaks about, looking into a few tents, feeling a spent campfire or two and generally assessing the public campsite area. She returns some 20 minutes later, a little concerned. There are humans in most of the tents, but they seem to be sleeping, all of them. The campsite here is well used. I am guessing there are several dozen people scattered about. And oh, most of the tents reek with the stench of Nemfrud. The report a little surprising. What would you like to do? Choose an option, find someone to talk to, investigate some of the tents, stay secure within your own camp. Deciding to investigate some of the nearby tents, your party cautiously proceeds forth, quietly opening some of the temporary structures and carefully peering within. Each of the encounters are the same. A single person lies within each tent, either sound asleep or so delirious that they couldn't possibly hold a conversation. Further, the humans within appear utterly destitute, possessing little but the rags on their backs and some debris lying about the floor of their tents. The air within each tent also reeks horribly of Nemfrud, and you wonder what's going on. Let's do an empathy check on your hero to see what you make of all this. Needing a 14 or less from Janet, a 3 was rolled. Success, your heart bleeding out for these poor, wretched souls. You conclude that they are all hopelessly addicted to the Nemfrud, their lives passing them by in a drug-induced haze. If this is the work of the Chegorian ultimates, you're reminded again why that government needs to be destroyed. That stench is so powerful I can smell it out here, Ariana complains, the reek of the Nemfrud wafting out of the nearby tents and into your noses. What sad, pitiful lives these people lead. For the stronger-willed, the Nemfrud can bring immense magical power, Redfern begins, having personal experience here in Chegoria. But for the weak, the Nemfrud simply empties their minds, returning them to a near infant-like state. This is why we need to find the One Nemesis Plant and destroy it. Agreed, Eswin responds, looking all about. But there is nothing we can do to help these people right now. We need to keep a low profile here. I know, Redfern nods, sadly. The more these villagers consume the fruit, the more of their humanity is lost. We probably couldn't help these people even if we wanted to, they're too far gone. Back to our own little camp, then. Ariana asks, not seeing any other viable options here. Your heroes agree, and a few minutes later you find yourselves back at your own campsite, your curiosity regarding your surroundings partially sated. A few hours pass, your party taking the time to stand watch, make simple repairs to their armor and clothing, enjoy some of their rations and discuss your next move. While you do sense a little activity within the village to the east, the public campsite here continues to be silent and still. Continuing to rest within the public campsite, you're free to remain here for as long as you wish, tend to your wounds and recover your spells. A nearby road leads north toward the jeweler and the docks, while the same road south will take you to the local witch doctor, a primitive type of alchemist. You can also head due east and toward the village center if you wish. Your party rests and recovers for 8 hours. Wounds are tended, spells are memorized, and your hero Janet casts Cure Light Wounds on herself, healing her for 11. Janet casts Cure Moderate Wounds on Ariana, healing her for 18 hit points. Kartha casts Cure Light Wounds on Eswin, healing him for 12 hit points. Kartha casts Cure Light Wounds on Ariana, healing her for Sainairs casts Cure Light Wounds on Eswin, healing him for 7 hit points. Your party rests and recovers for 8 hours. Wounds are tended, spells are memorized, and your heroes are refreshed and re-energized.